We are streaming. So, hello to all of you joining us via live stream, and of course, everybody who's in the room here with me. This is one of our VCN meetups, and the VCN meetups are the public-facing part of the vidwheel Creator Network, or VCN. What is the VCN? A group that brings together solopreneurs who aspire to take their businesses to the next level using self-produced video. And our mission is to guide you how to use video and expand your business beyond your local market to reach more extraordinary clients and generate more sales to grow your business. How do I know how to do this? Because it's my story. I used to work only in person in my local geographic market, but now I work all over the world with extraordinary clients, and I'm more profitable and have a less stressful and more flexible work schedule than I did before the switch. So if that sounds like a path that you would be interested in walking, I'd love to have a chat with you. There are links in the description for you if you're watching via live stream, and in the chat if you're in the meeting. So it is May, which is AI month, AI and video month on the VCN. The presentation I'm about to get into is part of that programming, but I also want to let you know that next month on the VCN is LinkedIn month, and we're kicking that off with LinkedIn expert Chris Hughes. Chris is presenting the different ways video content benefits a unified content strategy as part of our first VCN meetup of June, which is on June 1st at noon Eastern. So you can find that event and all upcoming events at events.vidwheel.com. And that link is in the description and the chat as well. So we are going to get on to the main event. I am going to be presenting, so I'm going to go ahead and spotlight myself. Is everybody that coming through all right for everybody? Yeah. Perfect. So, hello to all of you. My name is Neil Carroll, and I am the founder of vidwheel LLC. Thank you all for coming out to this meeting. Today, I am presenting how I use AI with video, and you can too. If you need to review anything that's part of this presentation or on this deck, you can access the presentation at any time at ai.vidwheel.com. And for those of you in the VCN, look for an extended version of this presentation with additional techniques featured in our LinkedIn group. I had to cut a lot of stuff to make it fit into the space, but you all are VIPs, so you can have all that info. And so how do I use AI in my business is the question, or how do I use AI with video outside of generating Bob Ross inspired spacescapes like the one I have on screen now? I use it to analyze content I've created. I use it to ideate on potential and ongoing projects. And I use it to help me write. Now, as I mentioned quite a bit in the promo for this presentation, I'm not an AI expert. I'm just a solopreneur who might be a little bit obsessed with efficiency and making stuff. But I'm happy to share my story with you on what I've learned so far when it comes to AI. I've been using one of the programs I'm going to talk about today for at least a year. That's Descript, and I'll go into more detail on that program later. But it's only been since about March that I started engaging with ChatGPT, which we'll also be talking about quite a bit today. ChatGPT was a curiosity for me at first. It was something fun to play with, a toy. The first successful output I got from it was a few lines of rhyming copy that I was going to use to open a networking meeting. That took me about 30 prompts, and it turned out okay. But it took a lot of time, so meh. For the next month, I would hop on ChatGPT once in a while with a random question. I once looked up a number of food puns for my son, who really likes, corny jokes like that. I would use it to settle disputes in our VCN office hours meetings. And I would use it as a glorified 8-ball at times, or magic 8-ball at times, if I wanted a little guidance as a solopreneur on should I do this or that. But it was still nothing more than a novelty to me. The only worthwhile thing I did during that span was to implement one of Stephen Pope's automations. And a lot of you folks may have seen Stephen Pope was the presenter at our last VCN meetup. The automation that I put in place was taking Descript transcriptions and turning them into social posts. And then I tried and failed to tweak that same setup to take Descript transcriptions and turn them into blog posts via automation. But the input and output on that were too long for the ChatGPT system. I did figure it out eventually, and that will be included in the kind of behind the scenes version of this presentation, but it didn't make the cut today for this public version. Mid-April is when I started getting a little more serious about AI and using it within my business. I got some inspiration from another LinkedIn creator named Darren Gibb. If anybody knows him, great. He's got great stuff. Go check it out. You can find him on LinkedIn. He was sharing some very cool prompts that would help folks write origin stories for their businesses, overcome sales objections, and more. I didn't really use his systems, but the prompts he shared were incredible. They gave some really good insights into how ChatGPT worked. Soon after, I started working on my own prompts. And at that point, I started integrating automations. And since then, I've been able to create a few techniques that work really well, working with AI and ChatGPT specifically, and a few tools, one of which you all will experience at the end of this meeting. And we'll look at some of those things today. So first, why? Why bother using AI in your business? And here are a few reasons I have found. Number one, it's a multiplier. As a solopreneur, I can get a whole lot more done utilizing AI to take out some of the less fun, more time-consuming tasks. It's like having a meal and a half around the office. It is also a time saver. So if you try to transcribe a 40-minute meeting like this one, just see how much time it takes to create that transcription. That's an idea of the time savings you can get. Number three, it's effective. I started using AI in mid-April, like I was talking about at the start of my kind of more serious AI journey, on my LinkedIn posts and videos. And since I made that switch, my impressions on LinkedIn have increased by 18.4%, while my engagements on the platform have gone up 52.3%, all while saving time on production. Number four, I'm a solo, so as silly as it sounds, it's actually another voice in my office to bounce ideas off of, which can be really helpful when you're trying to make a decision. And last but not least, developing with AI is fun. If you like to tinker, if you like to build things, create new ways of doing things, it's just too much fun. The possibilities of this tech are, endless at this moment in time. All right, so what are we going to go over today in this presentation? We're going to look a little bit at how I analyze video content through AI. We're going to look a little bit at how you can easily ideate or generate ideas through AI. And then we're going to look a little bit at writing as well. So we'll start with analysis. To me, this is the basis for successful AI utilization. So we've all probably heard the horror stories of blatant plagiarism with AI or incoherent content or things that are just plain wrong. when it comes to AI applications and what people are creating. You can avoid a lot of these issues by starting with your own content. And the first program I want to talk about when we're talking about starting with your own content and analysis is Descript. Folks in the VCN are familiar with this program. If you are not, I suggest you check it out. I dropped a link into the chat prior to kicking off this presentation, and that is an affiliate link for the program, so I'd appreciate if you use it. The basis of Descript is AI-powered transcription. It does a pretty good job of transcribing videos in a few moments. You may have to do a little bit of cleanup, but it gets you most of the way there. Transcriptions are important because they play a role in some of the other AI treatments I'm going to talk about. But to talk about the program itself, it's super easy to use. You take that transcription that's been generated by Descript, and you can edit and modify your video with that transcription. If you delete a line of the transcription, it gets rid of the associated video too. It is the easiest, most intuitive video editor I have found for non-video people. But that's not all it does that's, useful to you. With a little more of its AI voodoo, Descript can enhance your audio with a filter called Studio Sound that does great things for the basic kind of home studio setup type of audio. And it can identify and remove filler words like ums and ahs from your recording. The last thing I'll mention is in some of the higher paid tiers that they have an AI powered tool that they make available called Overdub. Overdub analyzes your voice and then allows you to change the transcription to replace misspoken words in your transcript or in your video, or you can even retroactively change what you say completely. And it will replace it with audio that is an approximation of your voice. It comes out, what I've got in my notes here is passable, but it's semi-robotic, right? So it's not perfect, but it can help you get rid of some mistakes that would otherwise have you recording a whole video. So Descript, if you haven't tried it, it's a great AI-powered video tool. The next thing that I'd like to touch on here is, of course, the darling of the AI world right now, ChatGPT. Descript plus ChatGPT is where a lot of my AI workflow happens. ChatGPT can't analyze videos directly. So step one is always to transcribe your video content via Descript, and then you can feed it into ChatGPT. It can be as simple as this, and I'll go ahead and do a quick demo to show you both Descript and ChatGPT and how it can work for you. So I've loaded my latest video waypoint into Descript. I was going to do this live, but it takes a few minutes. So this is what it looks like. It's as simple as dragging a video into the space here, and Descript will transcribe it for you. You can see it if you can read it on your screen. So that's pretty close, right? It gets most of the language. There's some things like VCN that obviously it doesn't know how to format, that type of thing. But this is what a Descript project looks like. And to demo what it looks like to get rid of things, if I take this sentence, highlight it, hit backspace, that audio is gone and the video associated is now gone too. So it's a simple way to edit for the non-editor. Now, what we want to do is just go ahead and select this whole transcript and copy it. And then we'll jump over to ChatGPT. Now, before we really get rolling here, I'm going to tell you a few of the lessons that I've learned that I think are super important when it comes to working with ChatGPT. First off, start a new chat for each project that you want to work with. Past prompts that you put in can influence future outputs from ChatGPT. So you don't really want to mix projects, or else you might confuse the AI. So when in doubt, start a new chat. The next thing is be super specific in your prompts. The more specific you can be putting in a prompt, the closer that result is going to be to what you want. The third thing that I would mention here is don't be afraid to regenerate a response, especially in ChatGPT 3. If it didn't quite understand what you were saying, regenerate the response. It'll give you a completely different answer. It might be closer to what you're looking for. 4 here is ask for changes. So if it gives ChatGPT gives you something close to what you were expecting or hoping for, you can give it little tweaks, tell it to change this or that, and it will update that prompt for you. The last thing I'll mention before we get rolling is ChatGPT 4 is way better than ChatGPT 3. I learned this while developing some more complex prompts. GPT-3 didn't always understand them, give me bad output sometimes. I'd have to do a lot of regenerating. It would forget what we were talking about a little further on in the conversation. GPT-4 was able to process all of these with ease. So the downside is that is a paid version. So if you are going with the free version, you're going to kind of be, you might have to do a little more prompting to get it to do what you want. All that said, though, today in this demo, I'm going to use ChatGPT 3 because it's so much faster than GPT 4. So you may see me need to do some additional prompting too, which probably even makes it a better teaching tool. So what we're going to do here, I already copied the transcript that I had there. I'm just going to this video transcript. So I'm simply going to ask GPT to summarize the transcript that I just copied and pasted in. It does it really quickly, and it does a really long one. So if you were, say, looking for a shorter transcription, you could say, give it a word count. Here's the 25-word summary of that video. Yeah, and it looks pretty accurate. Discusses compounding time savings for solopreneurs through task optimization, AI, and process tweaks. That's what I was talking about. If you can tweak further from there so that it works for what you want it to. But you can also do some different analysis now that you have that video transcript in there. We can ask it what the primary theme of that content is. And the primary theme is compounding time savings and importance to solopreneurs, which is pretty spot on. We can ask about tone, which, is limited because we are looking at a transcript, but in terms of the actual language used, it can give you, different, analysis of tone and so on. And you can even have some fun for it or fun with it. And did I spell that right? Well, whatever. You can, get it to write your summary as Dr. Seuss here, or some other, some other voice if you wanted to. So we just analyzed that video in 5 different ways. What I'd like you to consider is how can you use this tech to analyze your videos for useful insights? So So we'll get back to the presentation here. Ideation is the next thing we're going to hit on. If you're feeling stuck when it comes to creation, you just can't get that idea that inspires you to act, AI can help there too. Get ready to brainstorm with a robot, because it's really easy, again, to come over and generate ideas with ChatGPT. So if we jump back over and start a new chat, we can ask it a general question. So what are 10 things that every solopreneur needs to know? And it'll give you 10 ideas. And those 10 ideas are great, but they're usually pretty general. Where it can be way more useful to the creator is to pick one of these topics and go deeper. So, we'll take marketing with solopreneurs. So what are 10 ideas of a video to create for effective marketing with solopreneurs? So we go further down, we go down another level there. You could then pick one of these and go even further down. So the generating ideas right through this platform can be really powerful and save you a lot of time. I've also put a few more prompts here, some very simple ways to kind of start generating ideas. What are 10 things that we use? What components make up? What are the 3 most important? What are the steps in, some other process? Okay, and we will move on to the third section here, which is writing. I do want to urge you to be careful when using AI to write for you. It's almost too easy, right? It's too easy to generate something, copy and paste it, and go on with your day. My recommendation, don't do that. Read everything that you generate. Put your own spin on it. Check it for accuracy. Copy and paste is where those AI horror stories I talked about earlier come from. You have to be part of your brand, and writing that's off brand, off topic, or just plain wrong are sometimes the results of just the copy and paste from AI. So it's a tool. Think of AI as a tool. It's not a brand aware, top-notch freelance copywriter. It's a tool to help you get most of the way there. And with that in mind, we'll proceed to the next section here with caution. Now, in our presentation today, we're only going to have time to really look at scripts and the script maker that we'll get at. But some other sections that'll hopefully come up in future presentations and the VCN members will get a look at are writing social posts and blog posts with AI. It works really well for that. As far as a script, ChatGPT is very good at writing scripts. You can talk it into writing you a script through a series of prompts, but same rules apply. Go ahead and start out with a very strong idea of what you would like to do. Start out with a concrete idea or a piece of content that it can draw off of. Analyze it and go from there. If you want to try a more streamlined approach, you can use one of these automations that I've developed. They're Google Forms. You fill out a couple of prompts, and then it emails an AI-generated script to you. So I've developed 2 of these script builders. The top one is to develop an intro video. The bottom one is to develop a hand raiser video, which would help you promote something specific, like a product or service, like I mentioned at the top. We will get a chance to go ahead and do this as part of our next steps exercise. So anybody in the meeting, be sure to stick around if you want to play with those. But that's a big piece of, or that's an easy way to write some scripts through AI. And that does it. So we went through some of the ways that I use AI to analyze my content, to ideate, and to help me write. And all that's left is for you to do it. I just gave you the tools. You can't say I don't know how to use AI any longer. You can pretty easily hop in and start using some of the things we just went through. So it's up to you to take the next step. For those of you in the meeting, as I mentioned, we are going to take the next step together after a few minutes of Q&A. So for those of you in the meeting, thank you very much for coming out. Don't go anywhere. For those of you joining us via live stream, join us for our next Zoom meetup to get your questions answered and participate in the next steps exercise. Create confidently. So I'm